Welcome to the Valve Bounce. I'm Damo.
I'm Steve.
Hey, Steve. We're a motorsport podcast and we love F1 and V8 supercars in Australia. That's the main thing we focus on. And today, what a massive weekend we had up in the Northern Territory in Darwin for the V8 supercars, mate.
Certainly did, mate. Brock Feeney absolutely slaughtered the field and stamped his authority. Well done, Brock. And he is the only other driver other than Scott McLaughlin to take the Triple Crown.
Correct. An official Triple Crown, even when they moved things around and they pretended like it was going to be the overall points accumulator for the weekend, he still nailed the original Triple Crown. So well done, Brock Feeney. I'm 100%. Turning Steve into a Brock Feeney fan little by little.
But I will applaud when a job is done well. So congratulations, Brock. You did a great weekend. You absolutely slaughtered it.
Right, a little bit like what my predictions were. Just the Feeney name was everywhere on the timesheets, on the results.
Which means exactly one thing, Damo. You're not allowed to pick Brock Feeney anymore.
Yep. Well, I did say it was either going to be a curse or I'll never pick him again. So that's probably what we're going to do. Okay.
Very good, mate. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot to unfold over the weekend, other than Brock Feeney winning, mate. There was a little bit of gastro going around, and
the
some
squirts.
rookies doing well. Bit of squirting. Yep.
Yep.
I hear Mostert's quite partial to that.
Apparently so. Was not good throughout the weekend, but did his best to recover. So well done, mate. Well done.
And did you hear that, Brock Feeney in Darwin has like a 1.4? So, I don't know. They said it a lot of times. It just went over my head though. Like his average, it was so good. I mean,
his average is so good. And we only heard it maybe a dozen or plus times. It was.
Hey, hang on.
What else?
And Kai Allen. First time there, mate. First time.
I didn't realize.
I tell you, Kai Allen, first time there, mate. First time.
How many times?
It's like a broken freaking recorder, mate.
It's because I swear he just lock and loads with, all right, that's my phrase. And whether it's the old ones that he always uses over and over and over again, or he thinks, I better freshen things up. Kai Allen has never driven at Darwin at Hidden Valley before. Thanks, mate. I think we got it.
Shit. I honestly, it was a lot. Even I was like, come on, man. Pack it in.
Yeah. But he is cementing himself as the leader of this championship and certainly of the sprint portion. He must be absolutely seething that Supercars changed the format because
I know, right?
He, under the old system, I swear he's almost home and hosed by this stage. If he could get through the one of the enduros safely, he would be fine. So still work to be done from Brock, but so far, especially for the Sprint Cup, he's doing very well.
He's doing very well. About to secure himself a spot in that finals playoff for sure, I would say.
That's right.
Before we get to the other stuff, it was interesting because, it was good to see that Woody had some pace, but then he had an engine blow up. And then there was another issue with his car on the Sunday, which meant he dropped down. So he's gone from being 10th to bloody 11th.
He's the old saying, if you don't have bad luck, you have no luck at all. Could not get, driving probably the best, ever. I mean, I don't know, like in the junior, it's hard to compare when you're comparing different categories and stuff, but he's driving so well and just can't snag the results that his effort and his pace is showing.
Nah.
But that is part of the process. You got to get through these days and make sure that your worst days are always better than your opposition. And that bubble, which just well done to Supercars to start talking about the bubble, and then Larko having bubbles on the Hino hub.
And have you seen their graphics? They've been putting out little graphics where it's all switching around. I was like, holy shit, Warbo's already on it.
Exactly. Warbo is on the warpath. There was some interviews over the weekend where he did mention, he goes, we've got to keep the vibes going in between rounds, and our social media is the key to that. And he's already having an impact.
He is.
I think it's for the better. Like some of the stuff that popped out over the last day or so, seeing the championship results, seeing the youngest podiums, like there's a whole bunch of stuff that's coming out that's great to see.
It is. And for once, I'm going to applaud them, Damo. I'm applauding them. I'm applauding Supercars.
Well done.
Well done.
Yes.
You get applause when you're doing the right thing, and it's great to see. Hopefully, they keep it up, and certainly seems like Warbo's on the warpath, so it should be good. Speaking of warpath, something that popped up over the weekend where the Ford guys being very pissed off about being 2 kilometers an hour down on the front straight. And it came to fruition that the Chev motor had a skull cap over its manifold.
What a bizarre, it's a random thing to say. I don't think I've heard the phrase
skull
in
cap?
reference to engines before. But,
no.
Anyway. But it turns out that we've been investigating and uncovering these temperature inlet manifold differences, and then suddenly people start dropping the bomb of, hey, they've actually got this insulation, and of course, the 4 drivers were getting a little bit more vocal and quite upset. And it was hard to watch because it felt like some of the other changes that had happened gave the Fords a fighting chance, and we sort of started to look like we had some drivers up there, and then push comes to shove, and it was like 2 in the top 10 and 3 in the top 10. So just never quite eventuated, and so, I don't know. Talk me through the skull caps. What are they? Because to be honest, I just I couldn't believe it when it came out.
Well, it's just a level of insulation over the top of the manifold. So I don't know exactly what it's made out of or what it looks like. Like there's been no images of it or anything like that. But essentially it's just insulation. So they allowed the Ford guys to put on a makeshift insulation, anything they could find over the weekend. And did it make a difference? I have absolutely no fucking idea. But at the end of the day, these little things, these are the 1%ers that might not make up a huge amount on their own, but they are the little things that will make a difference with everything else that's going on. And we are in year 3, as Cam Waters said, and this stuff should be rectified by now. And when we've got another quad cam motor coming in next year from Toyota, these things really need to be rectified, and they need to be rectified quick, because you don't want to be playing this game for another 1 or 2 years. It gets tiring. Honestly, it's tiring for me.
I know. And it just felt like, they made some changes. Teddy came in, Mr. Edwards came in, and it sort of felt like he was doing the right thing. And then he just seems to have turned into this little soft bear where there's been no changes, or they haven't been talking about them. We've heard inklings of these inlet things, and then now it just bubbles over. It's like, oh my gosh, just fix it. Go.
Yeah, because exactly this is what happens, right? Initially, what happens is when Teddy comes into the role, it's, we're here, we're helping and everything else. And then Supercars slowly sees that he's actually making changes that they don't like. So then they start doing this, right? Well, and then what happens is it's just a bit like, and suddenly Teddy's Supercar.
Oh, wow. I'm just putting my conspiracy tinfoil hat on. Are you saying, Steve, that they're conspiring against this, and we're going to get a Teddy Supercar?
Oh, they're conspiring. No. They've been conspiring since 1995. No joking. Undertrace. Still scarred. No. Look, I don't think that's the case at all. But it is very much the case that when they go into that role, they initially speak up, they initially talk, and then over time they take the V8 supercar line or supercar line.
Yeah.
And it then goes back to feeling like they just don't give a crap. And that's the hardest part about the whole thing. I know they spent a truckload of money and they're trying, but yeah, it's a bit frustrating. But skull caps, that's the answer.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. Maybe let's go do a bit of a punch on that's looking like it's going to happen.
Oh,
the Titans of Triple Eight, and then the heritage of DJR, starting to get a bit get inspired about how the engines are going to work and who's doing what.
Well, it was fascinating over the weekend. So it's come to fruition that Triple Eight have bought a Ford V8 Supercar Motor that was basically decommissioned, right, from Penrite. So that was all fine. And that happened while we were in Western Australia. Now, the issue is that motor at the time of the transaction was on its way to MPT, which is the motorsport. What do they call it? I've written it down somewhere. Motorsport. Come on, Damo, help me out here. Motorsport powertrains. That's what it is.
Powertrains. Motorsport powertrains.
Right. Powertrains, which is the DJR side of engine side, right? For a refurbish. So it's had it's in the midst of getting a refurbish, I guess. And when Triple Eight said, well, we've paid money for it, give us our engine, they said no, allegedly.
Computer says no.
Just like says no.
I
can't send it.
Yeah. It'd be like, it's like, just checking this engine. Looks like it's actually a Penrite engine. So, no dice for the Camaro team.
No dice. Mate, we've got some. How's this going to unfold? July 1st. That's the date that this is all supposed to flip. So, the Chev stuff goes off to bloody Team 18 and Maury and all that. And then, and then the Ford stuff goes across to Triple Eight, even though they're running Camaros. Well, we're still at this annoying spot at the moment where we've got two people fighting. One wants to get paid. The other doesn't want to pay. Supercars doesn't want to pay anything. Ford don't want to pay anything. And come on.
Yeah, well, I guess it is one of those things that we're, officially, we haven't really heard that they've authorized or that everybody's voted for Triple Eight to take it. I think that's the consensus. But fair play to DJR in the true spirit of Triple Eight, who know how to make some coin out of these situations. DJR say, well, we had, we obviously had forecasts and budgets for this engine to be in play, and we were the homologation team. So therefore, I've got to recoup my costs. It's just going to be very interesting to see if Ford, my take is if Ford want this to happen, if they want Triple Eight to be the engine people, they should be coughing up that money to DJR. I don't necessarily think Triple Eight should. Because their Triple Eight's going to get the money for being the homologation team, right, as part of the Supercars package. But Ford have driven this, and so Ford, they need to step up.
I totally agree. This is a case of you made the decision, so now you pay for it, right? Triple Eight, I mean, they're not buying anything, which is why they don't want to pay anything, because they have to set up their own shop, they have to do everything. It's not like they're moving into where the DJR is set up and taking over it. It's not that at all. So I agree. I think it's down to Ford to shell out the cash because they made the decision. And, when DJR took this on in good faith, they invested a shit ton of cash for a very short amount of time. And they did a good job. I mean, comparatively to where it was, they've done a great job. Still needs work, but
I think that the initial error was, rightly or wrongly, that Herod, just didn't quite either have the investment or the people or whatever it was. It just didn't work out. And since DJR has taken it over, they've obviously been in a much better position, and there's been more advocacy as well internally. And you're right. It's just if we want to move on to the next, installment, that this is a Ford decision ultimately. They've got to make that payment. There has to be a return on investment to cover those costs that they're now not going to have as was expected. So
that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, the question is really, like, what are the impacts of some of these changes? Do you think it's going to affect the Bathurst preparation? Because we're still a bit like Darwin, we're up in the air whether the engine's going to be good at Bathurst.
Yeah, this is the frustrating part, isn't it? Like, ultimately, anytime that they're having this type of squabble in the background, it's affecting any time that's actually being put towards building a better engine or sorting out the engine, whatever it needs. Your focus isn't on the job, becomes a problem, and does, to me, sort of mean that, we're getting close to Bathurst. A skull cap isn't going to be the make or break of this particular thing. So let's work this out, right? Like, it needs to be sorted. The Ford teams have a bunch of sponsors that contribute year on year to see them win on occasion, and they haven't been able to even do that for the last 2 years at least. I could almost argue longer for the way that this category has been run for a while. And we want to see is an equal footing of some sort where there is an actual opportunity. We don't want to see them a minute off the lead of the race and like the first 49th. Like that's no good for anyone.
Well, it certainly won't be good for me because I'll have to listen to you whinge about it for a long time because
it was bad. You whinge just as much. Just don't call that
in a row. Don't call that. Yeah, he'll be filthy if that happens.
I know.
But I mean, you're right. Like, we've got effectively two rounds left of the sprint, and then you've got the Bend as the first enduro, and then Bathurst. And so we really don't have, like, in terms of time, we've got time because that's obviously not until October, but it is fast approaching. In terms of rounds, and I assume, I haven't actually confirmed or checked or anything, but I assume most of them will be having some sort of a test day to get the co-drivers up to speed and to run anything new. And so things need to be ready to go so they can test and validate what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine once this gets shipped across to AAA, no offense to AAA, but I can't imagine them making any improvements between now and Bathurst. They'll get an understanding of the motor by then, but that's probably where it lands, doesn't it? I mean, so there's a lot to play out. Hopefully there's, plans in place and things get handed over in a nice manner, not withholding. And because at the end of the day, right, as much as I understand DJR's grievance, I'm also going, well, it's got to work for you as well, because if things don't progress, then it's further time that you're stuck at the back or in the mid pack rather than vying for the position at the front.
Yeah, and I think just on that comment you made, there's no way AAA, who are obviously going to take over this, but are still competing in GM in GM products. They're not going to give the best or any insights that they found, even if they did find them, because they still have to close out this year and then homologate whatever changes ready for the new year, right? So
what I actually this, I mean, let's move on from the engine saga just slightly. And one thing I haven't actually put in our little prep, so this is a bit willy-nilly, like I often do, off the cuff. I was thinking about Anton over the weekend, watching him sort of, be closer to the front. And I was like, gee, those go fast bits must be really good, right? Like, it must be really good. I'm just looking at him, this is the second weekend in a row that suddenly he's sort of pumping around that front a bit. And I'm like, I wonder if that tap to AAA gets switched off July 1st.
Yeah, the customer cars, like, what's going to happen? So Premiere and Triple Eight. Yeah, I mean, it very well could be. Now, Anton does go well at Darwin. He was pretty good in the DJR car there in the prior year. So, you know, he does like that track. And it seems to be a track that certain drivers always tend to go well. Only exception this year was probably Reynolds, who's almost always been good there and just didn't have a great weekend at all. But yeah, you're right. Like, there's so many stories to flow on from some of this engine change and the change for Triple Eight to move to Mustangs, because when does that tap switch on or off? How much information do they give to the current Ford teams who they're in competition with this year? What happens to their customer car? Like, there is a lot of stuff that I'm sure will have some sort of impact, especially if there are any of those cars that they are competing against that they don't want to give an advantage to.
Correct.
Yeah.
But onto a good news story, Damo, because it was the weekend of the rookie.
Any
rookie. It was Kai Allen. Kai Allen,
Cobra Kai Allen.
Did you know hadn't been to the track? Fuck.
What? Are you saying Kai Allen hadn't been to Darwin before?
Never been to Darwin and got 2 podiums.
2 podiums. Yeah. Just absolutely like building on. Well done. Yes, do the clap. Just building on and getting better. And he has been improving slowly but surely. Clearly something about the track that was good for him. The Penrite cars were as strong as they needed to be. That was great to see. So both the team and a driver on the up and up. And it really is, I think someone might have been Speed Cafe, or maybe it was actually Supercars, were talking about like a change in the guard, because we've had such a young set of results in, you know, more recent rounds, but all of this year. I mean, you know, Feeney's not that old, even though he's had a lot of starts. But you know, you've had Cameron Hill, we've had Kai Allen, we've had obviously Woody. You know, these young guns are showing that they can take it to the rest of the drivers in the field.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'd like to see Kai do this week in, week out, obviously. But it's definitely feeling that way. It was the youngest ever podium. It was like 21 years and 200 days or whatever the hell it was. But yeah, youngest podium with Matty Payne up there as well, and obviously Feeney. So yeah, quite easily the changing of the guard happening before our eyes. But excuse me. Just sneaking in there. But but no, like Kai drove absolutely exceptionally well all weekend. And Payne as well drove really well. They were lacking that last little bit to get to Feeney, which might be that 2 kilometers an hour down the straight. But ultimately they were on pace, and they ran 2 completely different strategies, one at one end of the spectrum and one at the other, and both of them ended up on the podium. And I think that's it. Now you got to ask, are they now the strategy kings in the Supercars field?
I mean, we always know that like Triple Eight that's been pretty much their strong suit for many years, and obviously a fair alumni group of people in Penrite are from Triple Eight, but they have, I think their strategy has been, I guess, more extreme and garnishing the results. So, you know, they've been able to, you know, the tire whisperer of Matty Payne, where they really made him run exceptionally long on tires and ended up, you know, securing that win for him. And now just getting the strategy right and at both ends of the spectrum was amazing to watch.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, Matty's now knocking on the door of second on the championship leaderboard, which is just mind-boggling right now. And then at the same time, you know, Kai's shifted like from like 17th up to like 12th, and like just off the back of the 10 in terms of points. So he is well within the fight of making the finals as well. So
Certainly is.
it's going to be a fascinating sort of run now to see how it all pans out, because there's a lot vying for that back end of the 10, and Matty Payne's coming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is the other thing. I mean, he is marching forward, and I'm I'm really happy that he's finding his feet and being more consistent. He's as good at Adelaide, as Feeney has been. He obviously won there early. And so having someone like him in good form means it's not going to just be Feeney taking control of the whole year.
Correct.
Potentially.
Look, I think him and Tander at the bend for the 500 will be something to mark down. I really feel like that's a solid combination. If that car is motoring as well as it seems to be, I think they'll be well in contention. Bathurst is, as we said, we'll just wait and see, because engine is engine. But I do think the bend at the very least might be a good result for them.
Yeah, it's typically strong for Ford. So, the whole Garth Tander bromance with Penrite, what he's done to support and grow Kai Allen, how he's fostered and brought Payne through the category.
Yep.
But it was a masterful switch from the Penrite team to get him from Red Bull, where he was going to be I don't know what I was trying to say there, but basically he was going to win trophies, right? He was going to win, and to secure, obviously he's got his kid doing the program, the junior program with them, and then being able to bring that team forward. It is great to watch. I'm really enjoying it, and no complaints if we get another Ford up there.
Nah, definitely not. Definitely not. And look, I want to see Tander win in a Ford, just to annoy Hawley.
Sorry, Steve.
Sorry,
another Steve Hawley, but he's GM, but he's a WAU man. So I'm still waiting to see if he's going to switch to Toyota. We'll see how it goes next year.
I'd say he will, because he is 100% WAU.
Yeah, he's been pretty much following them when they switch to Ford, because he'll never follow Triple Eight, was his words. So
well, we have the same feeling.
We do.
All right. So how do we go in our predictions, Damo?
Wow.
We should probably run the tag over the top, shouldn't we?
We can.
Right, and that's out for predictions. They're all done and dusted. We don't need to go into that, do we?
Well, there's a song from a long time ago called Stutter Rap, and I think my predictions, we'll just leave yours alone, because, I mean, look, you did pick once. You got Feeney, but my
was almost.
Hey, doesn't matter if it was an inch or a mile. Winning's winning, right?
Calm down.
So I picked Feeney. I did throw in Mostert because I thought he might end up having a good one. So I got one wrong, and then had Feeney. And that's basically when we're talking about the results. We're talking about obviously a race 17, race 18,
and race
the
19.
shootout, and then also the race 19 winner. And so I only had the Mostert pegged for 18th race, and everything else I had Feeney. So if I'd done what my heart didn't want to do, I would have just picked Feeney for the whole round. I would have been right.
Look, Woody was looking good in that first race. He wasn't too bad until the engine blew up. And
he was looking good. Yeah.
And, Brownie never came to fruition for me. So sorry, mate. I don't know what you have run over, what's going on, whether Triple H just said, look, you needed to read the script last year and you didn't. So we're going to screw you. I don't know what's going on, but he has lost it this year. So he's out of it. And then I did pick Feeney for pole, which I was 110% correct there. And I did have Matty Payne in the last one. But unfortunately, Feeney just had far too much pace. It didn't matter what strategy you threw at anyone, they were never catching him.
No. I mean, he had pace for days over all the other GMs and obviously the Ford. So, it was a dominant weekend, as we've already said. And Yeah,
Just
my tips, my
your
predictions.
tips were good, mate. Your tips were very good. I'll give you that. Even
I'll
if they
never
were safe.
very safe, but I'm sorry that the only jinx that I provided was for Chaz.
I know, literally. You made the poor bastard shit his pants. No.
Yeah,
Yeah, look, I think, it is what it is.
it
Can't do
is.
much. Also, quick shout out to BJR because, once those
Yeah,
Camaros get that slight advantage, man, they come to the front.
they do. And what's actually really good is that we're seeing, like, Macaulay had a good run, got
He did.
boxed out a little bit on that, turn one.
Yeah.
But qualified really well. It was great to see the other cars doing well. Andre just needs, I don't know, he's just lost a little bit of mojo, it seems.
He's
not
lost the
quite
2/10 since he's had the kid.
yeah.
That's what it seems.
Maybe that's it. She's a little older than that though, but
Yeah, no.
in any case, I think he's just not quite gelling, and it's just good to see the other drivers get up there. Big shunt,
Yeah.
of course, from Jackson Evans.
Yeah,
but
Jackson Evans. That was actually, let's touch on that before we switch to our next topic.
Yep.
How do you feel about Golding's driving?
Getting a little close to the Captain Chaos mantra, I think.
He's almost taken over from Murray.
Yeah, well, Murray has cleaned himself up a lot. He seems to be, whatever he's doing, he's keeping himself clean in the same kind of position, but he's not getting himself involved in those situations. And Golding is definitely finding himself in the wrong spots and bumping the wrong way. He's definitely, a bit of a pattern. And I'm just, people like that worry me when we come into finals.
Yep, they definitely worry everyone, I think. He's just a bit, I don't know. He's just trying too hard, maybe.
Yeah. I think you're right. Like, it was just clumsy, and he should have been better. There are ways to avoid it, but of course,
he had heaps of space. He didn't have to push him as far wide as he did, and then, I mean, inevitably, as we've seen with these cars, and we've said many times that these wheels need to change, but inevitably the wheel interlocks and one fires into the fence. And I mean, I'm glad Jackson's okay, because that's not a fence that really particularly takes getting hit well. And definitely punched in hard.
Ended up being quite big. And that after turn one, that that little space of tarmac, the walls on the left and the right of that track have had some massive hits over the years. And I think he came out of it pretty well, which was good.
That's it. Well, let's move on, Damo.
Okay.
Gossip.
Let's see what's happening around the grounds, because there is a little bit happening, which is nice. It seems like they just save it all up and then make their announcements on the race weekends, and then we have nothing in between.
Yeah,
but we found out that finally Cam Waters is going on a plane. He's going over to the US.
He's going to drive a truck.
He is at that Lime Rock Raceway, which is one, if you're an iRacer, you've definitely spent many laps around that track.
Especially in the MX5 Cup series. Lime Rock is not a place that I would say is suited to a NASCAR truck, but does that mean that really, let's think about this, is Waters going in their favorite?
Oh, possibly.
I mean, that's what SVG thinks.
Yeah, well, I mean, SVG made the call. I don't know if it's trying to put the mods on him or a bit of extra pressure, but Cam's never really flustered by that stuff. He just kind of gets down, to doing what he needs to do. He's been spending time in the simulators, and he'll be giving it a good nudge. Yeah,
no, like Shane was being spoken to in an interview on the lead up to the last round, which didn't go so well for him. And he just literally said, he goes, "No, look, Cam's one of the best operators that I've come up against, and it's great that he was able to get something lined up. He wished that he was going to be on the Chicago, but it just didn't come together. And then he said, look, he probably goes in favorite, considering it's a road course, or not road course, a race circuit rather than an oval. So
Yep.
Yeah, it should be interesting. We wish Cam the best of luck, and hopefully he goes well. But we've also got the Chicago street race coming up, famous street race that Shane inevitably won a couple of years back now, which is mildly concerning that it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, time flies.
I know. But yeah, 6th of July is the race, and Will Brown will join him in the field.
He will, and I guess it's always good to see because the style of driving works really well at the street tracks for our supercar drivers over there, and clearly Brown could do with a bit of luck and a bit of success. So who knows? Maybe it'll be him and SVG fighting up the top, and can you imagine that?
Oh my God, that'd be insane, wouldn't it? If it was those two fighting for the win, you just, I think that would just send NASCAR into a spin. That'd be absolutely hilarious, and I'd love to see it. So, yeah, let's hope for a bit of a tussle. That'll be cool.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? Who else would like be in a frenzy? Would be the Supercars media, because you wait for the coverage of that. They love a good NASCAR coverage, or story.
Yeah, they do.
It's going well, so we'll see how that one goes.
Very good, very good. Speaking of SVG, mate, they're at Pocono over the weekend.
Pocono, the Dorito. Yes.
And it did not go well. He qualified 29th or something, 23rd, something like that, and finished 31st. He got taken out after Kyle Busch decided to do some crazy stuff, which didn't really matter anyway. He was still running back in the pack, but ended up a lap down and well out of contention. So he'll be looking forward to getting back to Chicago.
I tell you, it's tough on those ovals, and he's obviously come off a really strong win at Mexico to have an absolute horror run, and then he'll be looking forward to a couple of weeks at Chicago, I can tell you.
Yeah, 100%. And the last bit of news, Damien, that we can share with everybody. It's not really breaking. I was about to say it was breaking, but it's not.
Breaking news.
Are going to update their chassis.
Finally.
This will be the first update since 2012 when the Dallara DW12 came into the series. They've been running it ever since. Obviously, it had the visor change and like safety added to it and so forth. But you're going to have a brand new chassis that debuts in 2028. It's going to get tested next year. So IndyCar changing.
I know, and it's only like projecting it a long way out. I know it takes time to do that, but I must admit, when I read the news, I was surprised that it was 2012 when they brought that chassis in, and then I was a little confused because of the aero screen change, and but it does feel like it wasn't that long ago. But that's probably me just being a boomer, because
literally
2012 is a long time ago. Like
I was in TAFE. Damien.
I didn't have a child.
Oh, that's mild concerning.
Yeah, correct. That feels like a long time ago.
Jesus,
but it is a long time to have, was it 12 plus years to not have a change?
Yeah, I mean, like even Supercars didn't, they had Car of the Future in about the same time, and then they had, Car of the Future 2. And then, then we're on Gen 3. So,
Gen 3, yep.
And we'll probably be on Gen 4 in 2028. So,
well, the way these are going, they either need to make a change or they just need to buckle down and just,
I know. Anyway, enough of that. We should finish on that note, Damien, and thank our lovely viewers for checking out the whole video. If you've lasted this far, please like and subscribe, and go to our Facebook and Instagram and X and follow us at the Valve Bounce.
Thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you in the next video. See you later.
See ya.